Here.
Logsdon,
Here.
Mossberg,
Here.
Parker,
Here.
Turner.
Here. Okay, so we've got a quorum. Go on next item. Approval of minutes, regular meeting held May 13th, 2009.
We tried to get a corrected copy out, but there is just an error in the who was in attendance, and actually I think that's accurate, but the motion to approve the minutes shows that Caleb was absent, so it's just a minor correction. Then with that correction made, I'd motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Got a motion second. Call the roll, please.
Parker,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Mossberg,
Yes.
Logsdon.
Yes. Go on to the next item, which is reports from staff. City Council report.
Well, as we, a little bit delayed getting started this evening, some of you noticed, or didn't notice actually until we got here, but we do have a new method for electronically disseminating the agendas and then the files that go along with the agendas. In the future, when you get the email, you'll notice you'll be able to click on the links within the agenda, and it'll take you right to the files that are being discussed. And if you have trouble, you might do some test runs or something between now and the next meeting. Make sure the board members are all getting them. We can probably do that if you'd like. Just to make sure you're receiving those emails. We will be having a special meeting tomorrow evening to have a public hearing on bond issue for the city pool. This would be for public hearings on the budget.
Public hearings on the budget.
Public hearings on the budget, and so we'll be taking public comment on the budget. We've got kind of a short window to turn around if there comes anything out of that, but we'll need to be approving the budget at our June 17th meeting, so next Monday with the City Council. Generally, there's nobody there to say anything, so but that'll be tomorrow night, as well as a special agenda item to consider an act to go out for a GO bond issue for the public pool. We've had several meetings up to this point where we've sought feedback from the public. We've had Facebook surveys and all that, and so they're moving along to try and get the public input on a public vote for the city limits, and it would be a sales tax just within the city limits. Sorry, it's not a sales tax. It's an ad valorem. Marion, I'm sorry. You're going to have a heck of a time with your translation this evening. It would be an ad valorem tax. It would be just inside the city limits, and it would be for that bond issue for the pool.
Is that to rehab the existing pool?
Yes and no. The pool itself, the aquatics part of it, would be demoed and a new pool built in the same footprint. The building and the gazebo, the concrete gazebo and the building, the plan is to renovate, to maintain the historical value of those buildings, but bring them up to current standards for ADA accessibility and other health department codes and whatnot. And other than that, Joe Don, is there anything else we need to?
The only other thing that we'll be acting on tomorrow night will be in a special AUA meeting, awarding the contract for the construction of a lift station on the Skyline.
Okay. I'm happy to try to answer any questions you guys have.
Is there any noticeable or major differences between last year's budget and this year's budget for the city?
We're looking at an overall about a 4% increase Is that,
Well, the budgetary numbers for sales tax, for example, budgetary numbers are about the same. It will be about a 4% increase over what is actually received, and that's based upon what we are receiving now. The utility rates, we're following our rate structure, so our utility rates will be increasing based on what we passed 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and we're following our 4-year plan on that. The major, the budget's gonna look larger because of budgeting for the swimming pool issues. But if you take that factor out of it, we're essentially the same as we were last year.
probably as we talked about budget in the finance committee and then at the retreat, it was, we've over projected on our revenues last couple budget cycles, and haven't hit that mark, so we're being a little more conservative this year to hopefully have a more accurate budget that we, particularly as we look at what expenses are going to come.
Has the rain and the storms and the high winds we've had in the last couple months caused any issues that you're going to have to address in the next fiscal year?
Well, there's going to be the issues of the street down on Flynn. It was roughly pretty much washed away. That's just got a Band-Aid on it, and the reason we didn't go ahead and address it completely was because of harvest. We wanted to get harvest in and out, and that would have been a major deterrent for harvest traffic. I believe there's some issues of drainage out here as far as that will need to be addressed. We're going to have some, there's going to be some drainage issues that we're going to have to address in some form or fashion.
But you anticipate those being able to be handled within the
budget? Right now we're going to anticipate handling those within our budget. We've had a lot of problems out at the cemetery with all the rain. I mean, the measurement showed that we'd had over, Alva, it was around 14 inches of rain in the last 2 months, 60 days, and we're having issues out there with some of the older graves collapsing and settling more that we're having to address. There's some headstones that we're having to address and re-level. They're not, a lot of them aren't big issues, but they're just little kind of things that add up, yeah.
We're seeing some roof exacerbation issues at the professional building.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of water on that roof, this summer or this spring. We've kind of had some delays in some normal operating procedures out at the transfer station with limbs and grass clippings and that kind of stuff. So we're behind on some things, but again, those are neither one of them going to be. The roof will be an issue for funding wise, but
if it takes a replacement, it'll be an issue. We'll have to figure out how we're going to address that, because I think we'll be looking at a minimum of a $60,000 fix if we've got to replace that roof. Hopefully we can hopefully it's not so bad that we can't patch it. But the landfill, transfer station, where the grass and the limbs go, it's been flooded. We just haven't been able to get to it, and we don't have any, we're behind on our pickups because we've got nowhere to take it. So it's better off to be left where it's at and us try to get it picked up later than to pick it up and not have anywhere to dispose of it.
Anything else on the city council report? No, we'll go on to the next item, manager's report.
All right, we'll start off with the fuel report sheet. Had a pretty good month on that. Jet A was down compared to April, but that seems to be the way it goes around here. Okay, last month for, off the pump, moved 2,541 gallon, 1.8. 651 of that went to a truck transfer. I got the truck filled up last month, so sold 1,890.8 at the pump. Sold an additional 411.9 gallons off the avgas truck for total on the avgas sales off the truck was 1,868.39, and off the pump 8,191.59 for total sales on avgas last month at $10,059.98. And then out at the Jet A pump, it just worked out perfect. Like I said, we didn't have a very good month on Jet A compared to April. Moved a total of 1,076 gallons off the Jet A truck. That's what we sold. 538 of that were single point, 538 were over wing, for total sales off the truck of 3,658.40. Did transfer 1,565.2 from the pump to the truck to get it pretty well filled up. Total fuel sales last month, $13,718.38. Did sell 15 quarts of oil combined, sold at 1 case, and then 3 additional quarts for $153.48. Got $14.19 tax on that oil. We had one night transient hangar rentals last month, so our total sales for the month were $13,901.05. Like I said, our 1,076 on Jet A is about a third of what I did in April. So, did have Boydale. Any questions on the fuel report? So it's pretty self-explanatory, I think. Did have Boydale. It came out on May the 16th. They finally got the drop tube out of the Jet A tank and got the new one put in. Found out that after we thought the sensor was bad out there on that west spill bucket, they had a sensor with them. Got to investigating it. Evidently, at one time when that spill bucket filled up with water, somebody went out there and hooked the wiring that shuts the pump off when the spill bucket gets full of water. So we saved a little money on that. Should save a little money. I kind of had to argue with the guy at Hoydale, but since we didn't have to have that sensor, we just got it wired back up, I would think. You know, it was like a $700 item. So he did go ahead, put a new gasket on that west fill bucket to try to keep some water out of it. However, the technician, not only did he glue the gasket to the spill bucket lip, he put some adhesive material on the lid. So when I went out there the next day, I couldn't get the lid off. Wound up having to pry it off with the crowbar. Well, guess what that did to our new gasket? It tore it all up. So I called them again. They're coming out. Going to put the new gasket on the correct way and not charge us for it. So we're still waiting on the invoice for all that work. And for them to come out, 2 invoices to invoice us after they get that gasket repaired again. So on May the 29th, I got both the filters changed on both the avgas pump out here and the Jet A pump down there. Last Friday, changed the filter on the avgas truck, put the new hose on it, and we had to have a new battery in that truck. So I think we got all the filters up to date now on everything and changed. So now it's just a matter of staying on top of them every year, along with the stuff that we did, all the work that Hoydale's done and stuff. So I've started a spreadsheet on when each thing's due and what time to do it is. So We've been trying to get some mowing done with all the rain. We mow and then a week later it's already grown back up, but we're trying to get after it. In reference to Paul's last month wanting to check into the drainage issues, and I brought up the new south hangers. We had a couple of those, the southeast and the southwest. I've called that guy from Garver, I don't know how many times, and left him a voicemail. And I don't know if they're upset because they didn't get the contract, but I leave him a voicemail and ask him to please call me so I can try to figure out if that's a construction issue or an engineering issue, but I haven't been able to get anywhere with Garver, so. Did have Northwest Steamway came out, he cleaned the carpet in here. I don't know if you noticed, we had a big old nasty stain over there where he cleaned this carpet, the carpet in the office and the one out there, so we got that all done. He did a real good job. That was Friday night before Memorial Day, and I came in Tuesday morning, and our windows have always had a leak there in the office, especially when the wind-driven rain blows against them. So got a little stain out away from that wall, but Mark said he'd take care of that at no cost. So had Jennifer Bishop and Adam Fox from the Oklahoma Aeronautical Commission. They were out here on the 28th. They said it was kind of an inspection, and it was mainly more to make sure their sheets were up to date, and I could pass those kind of around for you. I'd already updated the airport master record, so we were pretty good to go. The only question I had on this was it lists the airport as 850 acres, and I thought it was an even 800 acres out here. I thought it was 5 quarters, but I don't know where the extra 50 acres would come in, because each quarter is 160 acres. I know there's one section on this end, and then you got an additional quarter down there, and that should be 160 acres plus 640. But I don't know if that's something
That down south isn't a quarter, it's more than a quarter.
so that might be what, it's 850 acres. Okay, I was just curious. They also have a project for me to do, and it's called the National, it's through the FAA, National Based Aircraft Inventory Program. Said we're supposed to do it like 6 months at least every year, sort of we find out who's bought planes, brought planes in, sold planes, like we got new planes, you know, Rick Cross got a couple of new ones. So she finally sent me all, she said, I'll get you that login stuff. It's what she told me on the 28th. Well, I called her a couple of times. She finally sent it to me, so I'll start update and all that. It's just, like I say, just see how many aircraft we have based here on the field. So, had a new kid today start. His name is Jake Darrow. He just got his pilot's license through Brandon, so I'm going to try to get him trained up. We still have the other gal here, Jamie, and we'll all continue to work with both of them, so we can get them all trained up, so we don't have any accidents or anything. So, and then my final thing is last month only had 21 aircraft that signed the guest book out here, what I call transients, and I think the month before it was 38. So we were down a little bit on that too, but we did have a lot of weather last month. So, and that's about all I have right now, unless you guys have questions.
Anything new on the grass runway?
I
Just
still,
been too wet to,
it's been so wet to even do anything with it. I mean, I need to get out there and mow. I might be able to get out there and mow again, but that's just, like I said, just with all the rain and everything, it's hard to keep. I mowed this, you know, and a week later, it doesn't even look like you mowed it, so.
yeah, I understand.
So,
I just wondered if any more roller or anything.
haven't heard anything. I've been so busy, Terry, with all this other stuff that I haven't had a chance to try to get a hold of that Litzenberger again, but
That's all right.
when I get these
Well, you get some
New-
help, yeah.
Yeah, new one's going, that'll give me a little more time maybe to make some of the calls and stuff, so.
Have you had a chance to visit with any of the accounts that are really past due to see? if there's
I
anything
did call two of those, the bigger two on that list, I did call. Had one that made a payment. Let's say, pretty close to half, but not quite half. And then I heard the other one that he might be moving out. So I said, you really need to get your account straightened up then.
Okay.
So, yeah, they were the two biggest ones that, I mean, as far as what they were outstanding. So.
And then on the South T hangar drainage, did we need to talk to engineers, or do we just need to talk to some contractors and get their opinion?
I contacted Toby with our new engineering company and asked him what I should do.
Okay.
He kind of got on Google Earth and looked, and he said this would be my suggestion. He said you need to find out first if this was an engineering issue or construction issue, and he said the only way to do that is to really start with Garver, and the way I understand that Garver was the one that designed that project. So that's why I started, excuse me, why I started calling Caleb Coltrane, because he's, you know, the aviation project manager, and he's been here before, but Caleb doesn't want to call me back.
Do we need to send a certified letter of return receipt?
I don't know.
A return.
I can help you with that if that's what we decide.
You think we need, because I told Joe Don that I'd called Caleb, I bet I've called him a half a dozen times.
Let me see if I can get a hold of Kevin before we see anything.
And I mean, I've been real pleasant, I just said, hey, we have an issue and I need to discuss it with you, can you please call me? And never get a return call. I've called him at least once a week since the last
Yeah.
board meeting.
I don't see that it matters whether it's what the issue, whether it's an engineering issue or construction issue. We just need to call a contractor and put a French drain or a bore under the slab to allow drainage for that.
Well, if it was an engineering issue, or if it was a construction issue and it was if it was engineered properly and it was a construction issue, then whoever constructed it would have some liability there to repair it accordingly.
Would that be the taxiway people or the building people?
Whoever the contractor was that.
Now, I did talk to one of the tenants, and they told me, you know, because I've never been, I don't go down there and stand during a thunderstorm, heavy rain to see where the water's coming in, but he thinks it's actually coming over the stem wall. I mean, where the tin comes down, that it's coming, you know, that high. So, and I mean, that wall's up, you know, that high off the ground. That's where he thought it was coming in, like it's coming in
Stem
between.
wall.
Well,
you'll
the
have
foundation
stand
wall,
up
Oh,
you
footer.
know,
for the-
footing.
Yeah, but it's only this tall.
Yeah.
So,
Backs up from the taxiway.
yeah, yeah, so like I said, I didn't know what to do. I called, you know, Toby and said, hey, we've had, ever since this has been built, you know, it's had a problem, these two hangars. And Toby said this would, he said, he pulled it up on Google Earth and looked, and he said, we need to find out if it's a construction issue or an engineering issue, and he said, that's what I would do. He said, I can't tell you what to do, but.
I
That's
think the engineer ought
insignificant.
to determine that. If it was engineered wrong, then it's not the construction guy, but if he followed what the engineer laid out, and I think it'd be up to the engineer to determine that.
The water problem in that building is insignificant compared to all the rest of the buildings. I mean, every other building on this airport has water issues, and that one is the least of the severity.
Well, the French drain has really helped mine.
Yeah,
See, I haven't got near the water that I used to
Right.
get. And it used to, from the west wall, it used to I'd have water that deep, 8 to 10 feet out. And I haven't had that since the front drain. But this last heavy rain, it came underneath the sidewalls. So I got about half what I used to get, but most of the time I don't. It's
Yeah.
really helped.
Yeah, and the maintenance hangar that I lease from the city, when it rains, I get this much water in the building.
Wow.
And luckily, there's a drain in the bottom of the floor, so it runs out. And the round top gets all kinds of water in it. Miller's building, it gets this much water running right through it. The T hangers over here, Todd holders and those, they water runs right through them every time it rains.
Heavy rain like that.
So I mean,
I think Toby told me there's only like 9 feet from the very north end of the property to the south
Yeah,
end.
you know,
There's
when-
hardly any grade out here. I mean, we're just out here where it's flat.
Well,
you
there's
know?
when
no
it's-
grade and everything's runoff right now.
yeah, and
Everything's runoff. There's
when
no
everything's-
saturation.
when you get 4 inches of rain on something flat, it takes a while for it to run off. And I know Paul has water issues in his building. Where it, when it rains that much, it runs in. He's got a floor drain and it runs out most of it.
Runs right back out to the drain that's full.
Yeah.
It's just full.
So, that some of the water issues, I don't know that we can fully repair or alleviate because we are so flat.
Yeah.
And when it rains so much,
That
Not
might
know
be-
where to go. Yeah.
might be an area to look into. Evidently, we've had this problem for a long time
oh yeah,
on these hangers over
on
here.
these, all of these other hangars, they've had water issues for 20 years or more.
But surely somebody could look at them, or we could put some kind of drain or sewer system that would get rid of some of that and take it out
But-
to the
But when it's so flat, there's no place for it to run.
Well, yeah, when it rains that much, that's full out there. Everybody wants to run to the bar ditch. The bar ditch was full.
Yeah,
then-
the bar ditch is
Then
just
there's
as,
nothing we can do, so we might as well move on.
I mean, yeah, on a lot of it, we're just too flat.
That's what Toby said. He said, man, he said, you just don't have anywhere for it to go.
Put an extra ditch in, so.
Yeah, and then that ditch fills up and then you're back to where you are.
I've heard of things, but I don't know the engineering side of it, but I've heard of people putting in, digging out retaining ponds and stuff like that to help, take some of that. But I don't know how effective it is. I don't know if it would have mattered this year. It may matter in some other years, but I don't know if it would have mattered this year. I don't know if anything would have mattered this year.
Yeah. I don't- Anyway, anything else we're on the manager's report? Anything else there?
You guys have more questions? Any questions?
New staff working out all right?
Yeah. One of them, I think I'm gonna have to work with one, and the other one was just his first day, so we'll just see, but I think he'll be good.
If not, anything else? We can go on to the next item. Presentation of upcoming Alva fly-in. April?
First of all, let me apologize. Monday, or in April, I was going to an air show in May, I had surgery, so sorry about that. I've been working on it. We've got the Young Eagles planning on coming in on Thursday. On Friday, excuse me. Thursday, it is Thursday. In the evening, because of school, so it'd be later in the afternoon. They were real pleased last year. They said they had the most for an unplanned event, meaning, like the big places where they all have, a long time. So they were all excited. We kind of thought about maybe running the same plan that we had last year that we didn't get to run a whole lot of. And Dale and I have talked about the flower drop and some of the different games and stuff, and we'd like to talk about maybe doing the scavenger hunt. I've talked to the banquet. I've got the paperwork to send to the tourist committee. Talked to Greg and Angelica, and I guess because of privacy rules, we're gonna go ahead and get a flyer to her that she will go ahead and put in the bill cycles. So that way she can contact everybody on the airport as opposed to us sending out individual letters like we did last year. We still have, we still can reuse a whole lot of stuff from last year, so that's gonna help. I mean, we have the signs, we have all the ropes, we have all the different things like that. I've talked to him about the porta potties, not a problem with that again. I've talked to Alex some. So it's just kinda going right along. There's not as much as there was last year with the air races and stuff like that, so it's been a little bit slower. Got several people that are talking about, bringing their planes in. We're gonna go ahead and just, like I said, like we talked about before, just do the flying in as opposed to having anybody come in and do stunt flying and having to shut the airport and stuff down. That'll allow people, like for example Bob, who couldn't fly his jets last year because we didn't put them on the paper. To see people like that, they can do their flying and stuff like that also. So that kind of opens that up a little bit.
You're talking about in the billing cycles for fuel.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
through that, yes.
Okay. Yeah, well, that'd be it.
So I'll get with her when those need to go out, and we'll get a letter to them. And
Well, we're still gonna do some out of town advertising. Like
Yes,
Just
yes.
make some flyers where we can take.
yeah, we'll have some
somewhere.
flyers, and I've contacted a bunch of them that'll put them up. Sundance and Wiley Post and Tulsa, and yeah, there's a bunch of them.
If we had some here, we could get
Yeah.
into the transits when they stop through and stuff. So.
Yeah.
Will I include item 6, discussion and any action on the fly-in? Also, any questions for April? No?
Looking forward to it.
All right, guys, thanks.
Thanks, April.
Thank you.
We'll go on to 7, discussion on action on the billing for utility services.
This has been brought up, I don't know how many times, but over the years, as we've talked about water rates as a city, and been brought up outside the meeting again, figured it was be worth a discussion here, to discuss the billing for water services on the airport grounds. There are, of course, some of the hangars are just going to have a frost-free, water hydrant at the corner of all the hangars, and some of them are plumbed with, commercially, and some of them are plumbed just with a little bit of, residential, application. But the difference between what goes on at the airport and other city entities is that the airport does have, private and commercial use of the water beyond the airport's use. The rec park, the use out at the rec park is going to be for the public use. The use at the library, same thing, is going to be for the public use. But when you get out here, we've got commercial industries, and we've got, private consumption and that sort of thing that goes beyond the public use. So it's a matter of discussing how best should the city of Alva go to start billing for the utility services moving forward. I'm of the opinion that the city can go in and drop some meters and start, whoever's not getting a water bill would get a meter and start getting a bill for their water. I wouldn't want to, this is just my personal opinion, if you're not already getting trash pickup at your hangar. We wouldn't force that on you. But if you are getting the water service, you get the base rate plus usage. So whatever the base rate is plus usage would be your bill for water. So if you charge like every other business or consumer in the community.
Think you can find the water line?
Excuse me?
Think you can find the water line?
Depends on what it was, if it was put in with, well, it's gonna be a challenge. You gotta know the way some of it's been run.
Doesn't Plain Plastic Plain Plastics meter on there?
Yeah, they're on there, Plain Plastics.
They're the only ones that's fully metered, right?
I think, based on what we saw today, I think Bob Baker has a meter on his hangar.
For water?
Yes.
No.
There's a meter being charged to him. That may be across the street.
Yeah.
I bet it is.
Yeah, I bet that was across the
I can go in
street.
deeper that way.
Okay, so yeah, we were looking, there was just one down here on College, and we were trying to identify it.
No.
So, yeah,
I'm not outing anybody.
right, no. It will be a challenge to find the meters, because there's been there's no water lines, there's no plans, there's
Well,
no...
it's been mom and pop, and let me say this generically, there's gonna be situations where you may find a line and drop a meter, and yeah, you're gonna get all the water that flows through that point, but you may be thinking that you're getting this one entity, and there may be 2 or 3 other entities that's teeing off the back of that. You see what I'm saying? They may use water, more water than that first entity who's actually gonna get the full brunt of the bill. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So,
And that's where we're at now. We're metering what the airport uses, and we don't know where it goes after it leaves the master meter that we've got.
I understand.
And in April, we used 115,000 gallons.
And, well, I mean, I'll be honest, I am not metered, and we've been paying a water bill for.
Well, and that's something that we just found out today when we were talking, when Angelica and I were talking about it right before we came out here. There are a couple more like you that is getting a water bill for $13.85 or
44 or something.
Miscellaneous water is $13.44. And the reason how this came about, back when Dean Calhoun was sitting there, we wanted, Kansas Industries was in full swing, and we wanted a dumpster. And they said, well, they're trying to figure out how to get the dumpster because the way the computers support water and all that. They said, well, we have to put the dumpster on there, but we need to charge it for water. So they came up with this amount of usage. We have a restroom. We're about 6 people. They figured about how much flushed each day, because we didn't do, most of our washing was with solvent and stuff, not water. And so that's how they came up with 13.40.
Yeah.
And and that's how we started being billed.
There's maybe another 1 or 2 out there that are exactly like you, getting billed the exact same amount. But, like I say, this is stuff we are uncovering today.
Right.
As we've started looking into this a little bit closer.
Obviously, I'm not opposed to being billed for water. It's just,
I bill you correctly for water.
I'm just not, I may not use as much as other entities on the airport.
Right.
Does that, you plan to include meter in city buildings? City building like the city-owned maintenance hangar that I lease?
We've got to discuss that.
I was thinking there was something in my contract that said lease included non-metered utilities. I may be wrong.
I was looking at some of our other leases.
And it used to be, the electricity used to be included in there years ago, but they changed that out. But, I mean, I'm just curious.
Yeah, well, I've looked into some of our other leases. I haven't looked at yours specifically, but some of them say that the person leasing the hangar is responsible for all utilities.
So the intent of the finance committee would be that if it's personal or commercial use, that the utility would be metered and there would be a expense to. Now, the lease between the airport and the tenant could take that all into consideration, but the intent would be that the consumption would be, billed for accordingly. Not any more, not any less than anybody else, but according to the current utility rate structure.
The water to the round top would be built to the round top.
You're gonna have to forgive me, I mean, somebody.
The hangar, it's like a hangar, are you saying if the people in the hangar?
Yeah.
That's sort of, so like if we have, like I
Well,
said,
there's a faucet outside the hangar.
they have a faucet there. Is that faucet usage bill divided by 60 to the people?
Well, what I would
I
say is like down here in the new hangars we just built. We put in 2 hydrants, one on each corner, opposite of one another.
There's just
One hydrant, okay,
One
there's one hydrant out there.
side.
It is metered. And,
But there's
that
no way
would-
to bill.
That would be billed to the airport, and the airport would have to adjust for that in their rates
It would.
to the individual.
I'm not proposing the airport get a bill for the water, because the rec park doesn't get a bill for it. It might be an accounting thing where we keep track of metered water. But
People use, I guess what we're gonna get into here is people use those to wash their planes. And
Once in a great while.
Yeah.
That's.
But I have, I have 2 outside my building, on the lines I put in, running for mine, but, I'll wash my airplanes maybe twice a year. So, what happened, and we start metering everything, somebody does it, how do you keep people from jumping around, unless you put locks, I don't wanna get to putting locks on frost-free hydrants to keep people from using, you see what I'm saying?
We had an
I
airplane,
see what you're saying, but
we had an airplane that wasn't based here. It flew in, went down, washed his airplane, and I don't know if he bought any fuel from you or not, but he flew out and that's been
150?
150.
Yeah, I let him.
to put
That
all
was my bad.
to
I let
put
him.
all
He
this in
bought fuel.
perspective.
He buys fuel from me.
I mean, if you're washing an airplane and our rate is per 1,000 gallons, and let's just say you used 1,000 gallons to wash your airplane, that costs $1.64 as of July 1st, 2019. I don't want us to make mountains out of
No,
molehills.
I understand,
I'd
but there are
like to
people,
say something. I think that the frost-free hangers, frost-free hydrants at the hangars on the outside, that I think the airport ought to provide those.
I agree
Because
with
there's really not enough usage to justify the expense of
I agree
collecting
with
a
that.
little bit of money and putting in a hydrant. Now, the other people that consume a large amount, then they should compensate the airport for that, I think.
We're not gonna be able to tell what each hydrant, what the consumption is off each structure without a meter. But in general, I would say, not necessarily based on what runs through the hydrants, but if it's set up with, plumbing inside the hangar, I think that's an indicator of or if it's a private hangar, and it's not one of the airport's hangars. I think those are the things we look at, and not necessarily how do you divide up the 8 tenants of this hangar with the.
One hydrant.
We all know that there's one business that uses a lot of water.
I had a conversation with the manager there, and it's not a surprise that this is,
And
and
I think that gets.
there's not gonna be any pushback as long, I'm under the impression there's not gonna be any pushback as long as it's equitable with what the rest of the rates are within the community. And so that's kind of,
And that's only fair.
that's all I think the finance committee is wanting is, you know, what's consistent with what's going on in the rest of the community.
And we're just talking only water, right?
That would be water and sewer.
Well, nobody's got any sewer.
Nobody's got any.
I think everybody out here is on septic.
Okay.
If they've got it, they would be
Pine
consistent.
Is Bob,
So-
or some, Bob on
wouldn't-
a septic tank?
It wouldn't be for services that aren't existing. So
And
if-
then, are you gonna put the road fee on it?
Probably so,
So there'd be the road fee and the water.
yeah.
So,
And there would be, what we
that's
would probably, because of the way we do things, is there's an opt-out for garbage, if you don't have garbage pickup. And so we would probably open it up to anybody that wanted to take on garbage at their hangar. They could do that, but it's something that, as a process of this, of our utility authority, we have to go through every year. And, you know, some people have garden taps in town, and so we go through every year and approve those for no other services other than their water, you know, things of that nature. And we would start out that way here, and then it would just work into that process in the coming years to do it the same way out here as we do the rest of town.
When you say garden tap, what do you mean?
Just water.
Yeah.
They've got a tap,
Well,
they've got a piece of property, all that's on it is their garden, they don't have trash, they don't have sewer, all they've got is water.
When did that change?
That's been there as long as I've been here.
Okay, well, previous city manager, I approached the council because I had a building, I only had water and no bathroom, no trash pickup, and it was all or nothing.
I'm sorry.
And so I've gone like the last freaking 7 years without water in that building because of that philosophy. I mean, so, I mean, if
We can fix that moving forward.
Okay. And so that was one of the things that concerned me about this coming out here was if we were still maintaining that all or nothing philosophy, but apparently there's been a change in that.
Since I've been here, there's been a, they call it a agricultural garden exemption that you can have, and there's forms you fill out for it, and it gets approved through the sanitation committee that exempts you from garbage pickup.
So if I have a frost-free faucet inside the corner of a structure, I could apply for that exemption, potentially.
I would imagine it's the same application, it's probably just a different interpretation, not being an agricultural purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I think for out here, we would have to expand the reason that we allowed that exemption, but it flows along with the same purpose.
Okay.
See, getting back into that, that's Wes Miller's hangar. Wes Miller has a hangar, you know, over here. Only thing I can find in it is a hot water heater, like he wanted to try to plumb it eventually, but there's one frost-free hydrant inside the hangar. That's all the water I see in it. No sink, no toilet, no shower.
Yeah, he was gonna
I'm guessing he was,
heat the floor in the middle section.
Well, as long as see, I wasn't aware, and I never read that there had been any change in interpretation of.
We could go back and research it. It's been this way since I've been mayor. And he was here before I was mayor.
This was the
Yeah,
previous
I know for the 7 years I've been here, it's that way.
Because I would dearly love to have water in that building again. Just nothing else but wash my hands from the pot or to get water. Okay.
so the rate out here would be the residential commercial rate outside the city limits.
No, we're inside the city limits.
Oh, okay, inside, so, okay,
So you'd start out at the 2420, and then you'd add the
$1.64.
if you use less than
Per thousand.
1,000, less than 3,000 gallons, it would be 24.
yeah.
No, if you use, it would be, if you use less than 1,000 gallons, it'd be the 2420. And then for 0 to 3,000 gallons, it's an additional $1.64 per thousand.
No, you get charged for every gallon, but the base is 2420.
Right, and that's
So-
what I said.
So the first 3,000 gallons are gonna cost you $1.64 a thousand,
Right.
plus the base rate.
Right, that's what I thought I said.
Okay.
Maybe I
You said the
misunderstood.
same, you said it different ways.
I thought you said if you
Yeah.
use less than 1,000 gallons.
Yeah. So that's the rate the majority of everybody's going to get except for, well, it would be everyone.
Yeah, that's the rate
This-
everybody's on.
yeah.
And then your intent is to try to meter the facilities that use water.
That we would use the master meter here at the terminal and then back out everybody else's meters to bill their entity.
Okay. So what are you gonna do in the meantime? To get all those meters in?
We won't do it till they're metered.
Then people may come on in different stages.
So July 1st, even though there's not a meter, you're just not gonna start billing on the 2420?
Right.
Right.
Okay. So like, for example, my bill would still show the garbage, the state fee, and the water, and then water usage. And then the only new one would be the road tax, or the $5.
Yeah, if you use 1,000 gallons a month, you'd be paying $25.84 plus the $5.
Yeah, there's no way I do that much, okay.
I'm going to bring this up, and I'm going to preface it with, I'm not in favor of it. Maybe I shouldn't bring it up. But
Don't confuse the issue.
is anybody thinking this isn't an acceptable way to move forward? Because I don't want to confuse the issue.
Well, I'm being billed now, I'm just gonna be billed more, is what. And as long as, I have no problem paying the $5 if we receive equal maintenance out here on our access roads that you guys have already done some work on, That it's just not all going downtown, you know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
my.
I mean, I think it's,
Then I won't confuse the matter any, because the other way is a little more complicated.
the city or the airport can pick up the tax for the meters.
My suggestion would be if the city's going to bill it, the city picks up the tab.
Okay.
What happens if a new water line has to be run in order to put the meter in?
If the city's going to bill it, it's, I mean, if the airport were going to be the utility, then we'd have another conversation. That was the other conversation. If the airport wanted to be the utility owner, that would be then be the conversation for the airport to have. But I'm not in favor of the airport being a utility owner. I think we should just be an airport.
You think there's quite a few that are breaking off?
Well, I don't know, there's some places that get congested, I know of one instance.
When we get into some of this stuff, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know that it's not going to be easier and more cost-effective just to put in a new line. Because I know of how, Paul, you and I have talked about the haphazard way water lines and electrical lines have been run out just in this area right next to us, over here to the north. So you know,
I understand. It's just that right, well, I can go into detail,
yeah.
explaining some. And I have a map of some stuff. But
Well, I might try to get that
it's gonna
from
be
you to
hard.
alleviate that, but it's gonna be, for us to come in and do it, it's gonna be a very difficult thing to do, especially when we start trying to, go underneath. It'll be a very expensive thing to do, especially when we start talking about having to bore a taxiway. Now, we can just get straight to it on a piece of dirt, we can dig the trench. But boring the taxiways and things like that, that could be a problem.
Right, okay.
It's gonna be a problem.
I'll look and see what information I have that I can be of assistance to you. So, but I just want you to be aware you may have to put in some lines
Yeah.
to do what you need to do.
That's part of it. You want to bill for the water, you got to put in the infrastructure. So, but
And I think that's a fair approach.
What, do you need a motion from us? Do you need a recommendation? Do you need what?
you know, a motion isn't necessary, but I think there's been concern that there would be opposition, so if there was a, supportive statement, that would be,
Well, I'm sure there will be opposition.
no, I mean by the
But,
board.
no, we need to do things fair. And I think it's a fair.
I mean, how do I say this? I have my own personal feelings as to how this will be carried forward and gone about because of my working relationships with certain entities. Not everybody has that same perspective, so I just need to, it'd be nice whether it's in print or statement or somewhere that, I know now that you're going to do this kind of a rate structure, you're gonna put in this meter, you're gonna do this at this cost, but once it's in print and said like that officially, is one thing. Throwing out bits and pieces here's another.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So that kind of quells it a little bit and puts some, I don't want to say, a unification thing to it to make it where there's not going to be, there may be a fear on some quarters out here, things could change between this meeting and the time it goes to your finance committee. See what I'm saying?
Well, it's already been to the finance committee. It won't go back for approval. We can write a letter and send it to all the tenants out here about how how it will transpire from start to finish.
Right. That is,
And it won't be, we won't come in with a,
what they
we
need,
will address, more than likely, we will try to address the heavy users first.
understand.
And then filter down to the smaller users. And it may be a year from now before we get to the North Shore hangar. I don't know. But that, to me, I think that is a hangar that's just got frost-free hydrants on it.
Yeah, there's just one cross street.
There are several out in the grounds
I did.
for
There are
watering
two.
trees and different
Yeah,
things also.
right.
But I mean, if it,
I was gonna say.
just whatever method you deem best, as long as we have some method of communication that reaches everybody with the consistent same message.
Right.
And this is how it's going to be. I mean, this is your base rate, this is plus this usage fee, and here's the usage fee structure. And yes, you'll get the $5 road thing, but that will also help maintain the access roads from 281 in this way, where everybody knows what's happening. Eliminate some questions and the back room.
There are still going to be people opposed to this, and there are going to be people that are opposed to having the $5 road fee on it, and it's going to happen. We know it will. It's just, like with
But some of us hear
If the
more
fi-
than other people.
if the $5 fee, the one thing we hear more than anything or maybe not more than anything, but we hear it a lot about the $5 fee, is that, we're not fixing the street in front of their house. We get, what, $150,000, $60,000 a year
$160,000 a year roughly.
on that $5 fee, and we spend over $300,000 a year on road repairs and maintenance. So, I mean, maybe we haven't been in front of your house yet, but over time, that fee is to take care of the roadways in our community. So, but it's not to say that that's the only thing we use to take care of the roadways. Also, it's not to say that the upfront cost of implementing this metering system, and if there has to be distribution system, added to that, it's probably going to take a while to break even on that, but it's the principle of having a fair utility system for our community. And so that's why it's important. But it's going to have to be implemented properly and all that, because there are some considerations out here that we don't have in other parts of town.
I understand. I just don't want a longevity of, well, Paul said this, and Dale said that, and the city manager said, you see what I'm saying? So that's the reason I just say one message out, whether it's in letter form, whatever, initially would maybe help well.
I think if we would give direction then to the city manager to develop the plan for implementation. He has, with our blessing to develop the plan. As that plan comes out, it can come back and be discussed more if there, need be. Because city council's already approved the utility rate structure that anybody that gets our utilities is going to get a bill for them.
Right.
So it doesn't have to go back to city council. And like Joe Don said, it doesn't even have to go back to finance committee.
I understand.
But I think you're right, communication out to each
Mhm.
place, having
Yeah.
something posted in here in the hangar, having something, or here, just basically being able to distribute
It's
that
probably
message
something
clearly.
that would need to be updated in any, lease agreements and where it's applicable.
So.
What would you like, Joe Don?
Do you need a letter from us, or?
I don't have a problem writing the letter. It would be nice to have at least a vote of the board to say proceed with the development of the plan of implementation.
I make,
And make a communicate that to the
Airport tenants.
airport tenants.
I make motion that the city proceed with developing an implementation plan for the billing of utility services and a communication plan for airport tenants.
You want to say anything about infrastructure?
Implementation plan to include necessary infrastructure.
I'll second that motion.
Second motion, call the roll.
Just a moment.
Oh, you're still writing.
I am, yes.
You want to say billing and other things, so I think infrastructure.
Meters are part of, the biggest part of that, at face value. So you start tracing lines.
All right, I'm ready. Parker,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Mossberg,
Yes.
Logston.
Yes. Some of the lines are plastic.
Some of them?
From here?
Somewhere later.
From here?
I was going to say,
Huh?
From here,
For the water lines, some of them are plastic.
all the way.
Yeah.
Some are lead. A lot of them are lead.
I hope they put
Lead ones will be able to, well, we may be able to find, I don't know, with our building detector, the plastic ones,
they
they
should have put
if they didn't put a tracer on it, wire on it, which I'm sure they didn't,
a tracing wire on
we
it.
won't be able to find it. Might be able to find where ease off and start there,
We
kind of
wonder where we're doing
track
that
it
is.
down, but
I mean, find it when you don't want to find it.
Go on to the next item, number 8, remarks and inquiries by airport commission members. Anybody have anything else? If not, go on to the next item, remarks and inquiries by citizens. If nobody has anything, we'll call this meeting adjourned then.